So the first couple questions are identifying factors, just so we can, just for data collection purposes, to separate students by grade and what sort of grades they get.
So I see number 4, for example, do you feel academically challenged at MSAT? I think the challenge, how I see looking back, comes vertically. If we are not prepped well, let's see grade 9, there's a change, different teacher picks up the subject, and everything collapses, because if it wasn't good prep, the next year is so hard. So vertically, it's kind of lacking that consistency of bringing up children, and that's why maybe homework can feel really tough, because now they're dealing with totally new demands, totally new style, and that just
Hi, welcome, thank you for
So
coming.
the new teacher.
What grade
new
is?
teacher, which you can appreciate, let's see, good, but if grade lower, for example, they didn't get equal prep, then it's very hard. And if we're talking about the high school,
Yeah.
so really it has to be very attentive from grade 9. I mean, I know 8 prepares them, but I found that it was just, and you cannot blame them. The teacher can say, I don't understand how you even can be in honors, for example, and ask, who was your previous teacher? So teacher themselves can ask, who prepped you for and recommended for you? So somewhere that was miscommunicated how we recommend children to certain criteria, because another teacher may look different at that. In the same department, I think there is miscommunication.
If I may ask, what grade is your student?
10.
10.
So is the concern the inconsistency in teaching, or is it
I mean,
Inconsistency
my
in-
daughter is in 11th grade. I mean, I completely relate to that. She was a straight A student in 9th grade, and in 10th grade she got really bad grades. And my analysis on this is that I think the expectations between 9th and 10th grade from teachers drastically changes. And especially there are few teachers who rely on self-paced learning. That it's tough for them, for at least for my daughter, to get used to. There was no guided teaching in the class. It was more like, I'm just using one example of how things go wrong expectations-wise. They're supposed to just see podcasts, and
Yeah, that
they're
is-
just supposed to take a test whenever they're ready for it.
It's like
And-
teaching yourself at
Yeah.
home, but in a classroom you're really reviewing, like vice versa. You would expect teachers teaching or giving maybe lecture or something on a subject. You come home and you revise that. I think I know which one. And it's reversed. So you do yourself, watch whatever you do, podcast or something, and the classroom is just teacher takes it a little bit lighter, I guess. Okay, what did you see? That is a little bit different style, I guess.
Yeah, so what happened is when there is pressure in other subjects in homework, they would defer the self-paced one. And then, as they defer few of those tests, it kind of catches up at the end, and the whole thing kind of, unless they're very disciplined in managing their time and very effective in using their time,
right?
which is very tough. We thought our daughter would fly through, but she couldn't.
And one of the subjects, I think, on topic of the podcast should be supplementary material. I don't think podcast can be consistency material throughout the year, that every assignment, every topic is based on a podcast. I think it's taken a little bit lightly by teacher that they found this series of podcasts and that's it. I think the communication or some kind of visual material still has to be there, because podcast is just for the ears.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have one teaching method at AMSA. There are many different teaching methods, and we encourage that. We have different teachers with different styles, and it's true in departments, true as well. Be that said, there should always be a clear set of expectations for all students. students should know what they need to do to do well. There should always be clarity around expectations, and if there is a concern with a particular class about your son or daughter doesn't feel that, I definitely encourage you to reach out to the teacher. Start with the teacher, and my daughter doesn't understand X or whatnot. I would actually, even before that, I would encourage your daughter or son to reach out to the teacher and say, I need help with this, please clarify. And then
I think the suggestion was from one of the classes, just from honors to drop to CP. That was suggestion because teacher sees that the subject is hard and maybe that's what we should do. But I don't know if it's the right way because that's what students going to pick up.
Is this for 10th grade we're talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, you can.
Is this chemistry?
It's like chemo.
Yeah.
Well, no, my son actually, he loved this, every kid is different.
Yeah.
But he loved the fact that he could move at his own pace and watch the iPods. And my understanding was after they watched the podcast, I thought that the teacher did kind of go over the lesson in class, but every kid learns differently. So
part of this survey that you see before you, and welcome, thanks for coming. We passed out a survey, I think, Mr. Naraki. Yeah, so Mr. Naraki was describing some of the questions. So we're hoping to get a lot of data feedback from students themselves, and Mike, maybe want to pick it up and go over some of the.
Yes, so like I said, the first few questions are just for identification purposes and just to help sort the data out for us on our end, because we are taking this very seriously. We do want the students to be very open and honest, and hopefully the ones that do struggle in particular classes open up about it. So when you go home tonight, talk to your children about it and ask them. They already heard from the principal today during lunch, but we really encourage them to just be very frank, very open, very honest with this. And we have a committee of probably around 25, 30 staff members who have volunteered their time, administrators, teachers, other faculty. We've been meeting on a monthly basis. We formulated this survey with the input of all staff. So we sent this out through email, all staff-wide. People gave us feedback on the initial draft. So this has been revised several times, and we think it's getting to the core of what we'd like to hear from our students in regard to their academic life here at school. So question 4, we just discussed feeling academically challenged. So they have several choices there. And again, all these questions sort of build on each other. Question 5, I think we all thought that was a very good one. Do you feel inspired at AMSA?
Can I just jump in?
Yes.
Question 5. That's all of it, as Mike said, this is really important to us, and it's an opportunity for students to be heard and to give us really valuable feedback. And all these questions are really important. And Mike's going to go through them. 5 is, as Mike said, really important to us because one of our core values is excellence, which includes many things. One of the things that it includes is the joy of learning. And we really want learning that takes place at AMSA where kids feel really inspired by what happens in the classroom. And that's a question that really gets to that.
Yeah, and I think if we see results here where they're not so positive, and we find that there are not so many students in grades 8 through 12 that are not inspired, then we need to. That's why we're collecting this data. We have to be honest with ourselves as staff members and say what are we doing? What are these? And again, these all sort of build on each other, and there's also open comments at the end that the students can make. So we'll probably get even more information if we see, for whatever reason, they're not inspired. I think we will see positive results, but if for some reason of any of these questions we did not, we're going to adjust. Again, it's really, we're all here to benefit for the best interest of our students. So we want to make sure that we're providing them with the tools that they need and the support they need for their academic lives here at AMSA. So question 6.
Can I have a
Yes.
question on 5? So when
Yeah.
I read 5,
Yep.
my first take on it is I'm not sure what you're looking for when I hear do you feel inspired? Like, what's the heart of that question? Do they get excited about their learning? Do they want, I'm curious, as I read it, first time, just out of the out of the chute, I'm asking myself, okay, what's the core? When you say inspired, are they motivated? Are they excited about it? Do they have a desire? So
All
maybe
of those, absolutely.
I really think
yes.
it's a mixture of all those.
Yeah, here I can help you out on that, again.
Well, I'm
coming
just
back-
saying, if
yeah,
I'm questioning
yeah,
that, I wonder
yeah.
if my kids would be when they're
I
reading
know.
the survey going, well, what do
I
they mean by
know.
inspired?
I heard example, for example, when it comes to hard times, and the kids go through kind of like energy levels. I had one time my daughter said, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. I'm trying so hard and I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And if teacher is there to help, and I know most of them always offer the hours, you can turn that around. Even if it's hard and regardless of what level they at,
Yeah.
they feel better next week.
Yes.
Okay, I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
decimal points. But I think every teacher should be trying. Not necessarily saying, okay, it's hard subject, that's my curriculum, that's how I teach. And, okay, I'm sorry, you cannot do that. But there has to be, okay, you're going down, what we can do. And
Yes.
in that moment of, when they feel pride that, okay, I turned around that, I got improvement, doesn't matter how many decimal points.
Mhm.
That's what can be big, okay, I guess I can do it.
Right, absolutely.
And that can be part of his inspiration, doesn't have to be necessary, that inspiration comes from teacher. If they see it's going down, they kind of don't look it down, okay, that kid is not getting it. So just have to, because they can be overwhelmed with sports, they didn't sleep, there's something
Yeah.
else.
Absolutely, yep, absolutely.
Question 6, we start moving into, we came up with these questions just to get a pulse on how our students use supports and if they even know what supports exist here at school, and when they do receive supports, if they do seek supports academically, do they feel like they're useful, like they're successful when they seek out support? So the first question focuses on, so which of the following academic supports do you find most useful? So we list some options for them here. Some of the common ones you'd expect, toward the end there, option 5, it talks about off-site online tutoring. We do know that there are many online tutoring services. The first one talks about direct one-on-one help with the academic teacher, which would usually take place during, scheduled office hours that teachers have. And then everything sort of in between, and even on the back of that page there, the 6th option, we even put other in there, because there could be something else that we don't know about that students are utilizing. I don't know. Could be parent. I don't know if we put parents as one of the options, but someone may write in, my parent.
We didn't put parents, that's
Yeah.
terrible.
But
Apologies. Parents,
so maybe
yes.
we'll probably have parents in there for the other category, most likely. So question 7. So then we go into, do you know how to get the academic help? So we ask, where they seek the support from, where they find the support from. And then we ask specifically at AMSA, do you know how to find the academic support that you need? Very simple, yes, no, sometimes. And again, that will be very important data for us to gather. We want to make sure everybody knows where to go if they need something here at the school.
Yeah, so sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
As Mike said, this would be really helpful. So, it's one thing, we want learning that is inspirational, that's exciting, that's motivational, all the words that you use. But we also know that a lot of the learning here is challenging. This is a challenging school. We're a school of high expectations, and we embrace that. We welcome that. But alongside those high expectations is our core mission, our core value, that we will educate all students regardless of background, regardless of ability, and help all students excel. And to do that well, to challenge our students, we also have to support our students and find as many ways as we possibly can, all the ways we possibly can to support them. So these questions will really help us. Where do you get your support from? What support is most helpful? Do you know where to get the support that you need? So all of that will be really useful.
Yeah, then the next question asks straight up, if you have received support here at the school, here at AMSA, was it helpful? And again, you have the choice, yes, no, sometimes, and then we've added another option there. I've never used any supports here. I've never sought out any supports at the school. Question 9, we get into the homework aspect, which was brought up earlier. So on average, how many hours per night are you spending on homework? So several options there, anywhere from 0 to 4, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and then more than 4 hours. And again, I think the committee was looking at school to life balance for our students. It was mentioned earlier that there's some students staying up till 1 or 2 a.m. completing assignments. I was just talking to a sophomore today who informed me that he hasn't been getting to bed before midnight several nights a week because of homework. So we're going over this survey right now.
I heard about that today.
So we've heard about it, so we're looking for, those are just a couple of different stories there, but we'll see what the results tell us. We'll see what the students fill out. And again, I think our focus is on what's the school life balance like for our students here.
Did you say, I missed the beginning, did you say is this anonymous for them?
This is anonymous.
Yes.
This is
We'll
anonymous.
be taking it tomorrow and Thursday.
Yeah, we have it lined up for their computer science classes for the next 2 days, and any students who don't take a computer science class in grades 8 through 11, they can just click on the link and they can take the survey from their phone, before or after school or at home. And our seniors, all of our 12th graders, are going to be taking it during their senior seminar class over the next 2 days. So we've slotted out time where they will they will be able to take these surveys. We've guaranteed them time to take these surveys. Thanks to our computer science teachers who offered that time up from their classes.
May I also just give a comment on that? You can relate to many kids that way, that lots of them have siblings. And I notice myself that I have students 2 years apart. The younger ones see that improvement. So even those who don't have, at least take it seriously, that can help out, your younger siblings going along.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So question 10 leads into, do you feel the amount of homework that you receive is reasonable? And again, we give them 4 different options there.
And just to pick up, that question will vary by student. Some students may find an hour and a half of homework reasonable, some may not. The balance is not going to be the same for each student, but as a school, we want to do 2 things. We want to challenge our kids, we want to push our kids, all of our kids, each and every one of them. It's an individual push. It's not like a generic, everyone's going to do this, everyone's going to do that. It's finding each kid's balance. And we want our students to be challenged, but we also want our students to have that balance that Mike is talking about. If you don't, as we all know as adults, if you don't have that balance in your life between work and leisure and play and work, it's hard to do either well. It's particularly hard to work well. We certainly want our kids to feel socially and emotionally that they're balanced and that they have things outside of just work itself that brings joy and happiness.
Sorry, quick question. Are the surveys like building on top of the questions in terms of segmentation? For example, if a child or student is taking in the AP and honors classes, what their response ecosystem looks like versus what if a student is taking
So the first question, if you go back to the first question, is
We asked the students what grade they're in, what sorts of
Classes they typically take.
classes they take, what sorts of grades they
Yeah.
get on their report cards, and then it does ask.
so this
So-
kind of help us.
Yeah, so when are these going to be published to the parents or?
Yeah, so what,
Okay.
Yeah, so the plan is that we'll be sharing the data. We have a group of teachers and administrators who will look at the data, and then we will analyze it. Once we get it all back, we'll analyze it and we'll put it together, and it will be published and shared with the entire community.
So for example, if you want to look at what the responses of like students in AP and honors classes versus CP classes, we can look at.
Oh, yes, we'll be able to differentiate those, yes.
Thanks.
So the next question, I'm off track here, but I believe it goes into, I think there's a question about, yeah, so how often do you think cheating takes place at AMSA? And again, this is anonymous, so hopefully the students do feel comfortable with this. We've had open forums here with students. I'm a co-advisor for the student government, and last school year, I believe it was, we had an open forum where we invited all students, I think it was all upper school students come down, and we discussed academic dishonesty, and the students were very open about it. They explained, there's a lot of academic competition going on, and I remember one student who was a senior at the time, he mentioned that, in their grade, they're competing, for a higher GPA, and if I know that so-and-so is cutting corners and attempting to cheat on tests, or, then how am I going to keep up with them? So the students are left feeling like, well, I know that they may be doing something wrong. I'm in a tough position, and it's like you have that you're like combating your own integrity at that point. Like, do I want to? So students were very open. That was last school year, or maybe even 2 school years ago. And since I've been here since 2010, I know Dr. Lewis has been here since the first day the school started. I think the staff know, the students know that it's an issue here. I think it's an issue in a lot of academically competitive schools. So this question is just, we never really straight up asked in a survey to students, we never really asked that straight up question about do you see cheating taking place. So, again, we'll be interested to see what the responses look like.
What are you going to do when you get that answer? That's
Well, that's what,
very often.
good question.
We certainly have tools that we already use in place, such as the English and history departments. We use Turnitin, which helps to check for plagiarism. We certainly encourage our teachers to be aware when you're giving tests, to move about the room and whatnot. And we, our cell phone policy in the upper schools, the cell phones need to be placed. A lot of teachers place them in pockets on the side of the room so that if they go to the bathroom, they don't have their cell phone. But there's certainly a lot more that can be done. But there is a balance between trusting kids, and we definitely want to trust our kids versus checking on them and making sure that they're not doing what they shouldn't be doing.
And we spoke. I went into I went to the senior seminar classes just this week and last Friday. We spoke to every senior in the building, and we actually talked about their freshman year of college, and we talked about academic integrity, academic honesty, especially at the collegiate level, and how serious it's taken at a college. And we know that there are, I told the seniors straight up, we know that there are websites right now as well, and some of you may not know this, but I know there's websites where you have access to you could find access to almost any math problem, English paper you could ever imagine. In some of these sites, I believe, they have a homepage that's sort of a cover. It looks like a news website, but it's really some sort of underground exchange going on where students can purchase papers and answers to certain tests and things like that. So it exists out there. There are people who are creating these sites and making money off of it, or whatever their motive is. But we know it exists. There's always something. It's tough to control everything, and I agree with Dr. Lewis. We can't stand over every student's shoulder, and we don't want to create any sort of environment like that. But we do take some measures. The cell phone pockets, we introduce those to every classroom has a 30, just a pocket that goes on the wall, has 30 slots on it, so that, some teachers utilize that. So we're always thinking about it. It's again, all this kind of comes into like, how do we delicately balance
Yeah,
everything?
and promote integrity, which is our first most important core value, being honest and truthful. The work that we do as teachers, administrators, and as students. We're certainly not there yet, but ideally we'd be at a place where our students don't feel the need, but they know that it's wrong, and they don't do it. I mean, they're always, certainly always will be cheating, but if we can really inculcate those values in our students, certainly with all of your help, that will, really help us tremendously.
We had that, like you were talking about the homework, having that home life balance maybe would help part of that problem. So
Yes,
I know some of my
absolutely.
children
Stress.
made comments that they stay up for hours and hours doing homework, and then so-and-so is struggling because they didn't stay up for hours and then wants to copy, and what is going on?
Yeah.
Or maybe, kids would feel better prepared for their quizzes and tests if they weren't so overwhelmed, if they didn't have to get all this done and could study for it. So I think that's definitely, I'm happy you're looking into that.
Yes. Yep. In question,
Which goes
Go
to
ahead.
question 12.
Yeah, goes to question 12. Do you feel supported emotionally and socially by AMSA staff? So we're looking specifically, do they feel the emotional and social support from our teachers, counselors, administrators, et cetera?
Yeah, that's a really, 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 really important question. In fact, in many ways, I think 12 and 13 are the most important questions, because I think that as we can talk until we're blue in the face about academics and rigor and high expectations, which I firmly believe in, but a student is not going to optimally learn and excel and do the best they can unless they feel secure in the school, unless they feel valued, unless they know that the teacher and administrators are fighting for them and rooting for them and cheering them and will pick them up when they fall down. If a student knows that, if they know that you're going to challenge them, but you're also going to support them and you're going to help them grow as young men and women, there's a whole lot that a kid can do.
Yeah, this is a really important, because we've been having some conversations. I always ask her about today. My husband and I are trying to figure out what to do with some of the things she's telling us. And, where I would say that we're not been supporting support.
Yeah, I think you have to search too, because my daughter feels very, highly grades for counselor. We had a few instances, and I found that even sometimes I say, do you want me to do that? No, I talked to kind of that. So much confidence, so much, trust into that person and I feel myself, okay, if you really want to talk to me, you have somebody great. So I feel good, it feels me good, that it is something, certain things, because obviously school personnel knows better all these details. So sometimes kids feel that there's so much to now tell you or relate to everything because there's lack of time, homeworks and parents with their lives and work. So they find that trust in school quicker to communicate, find that response, and I appreciate that relationship.
Yes, I hope all of that's great to hear. I hope all of your sons and daughters have somebody that, whoever it may be, if it's a counselor, if it's an administrator, if it's a teacher, that they all feel that there's at least one person that they can trust and talk to openly about their concerns and what's happening.
I know one issue that I've discussed with several students already this year, high school students actually. I know that sometimes students, they really do believe that if they ask for help, that it's a sign of weakness. And I've had to really coach some students here on, I give them real life example. We have 120 staff that work at AMSA. I ask for help every day from somebody, and somebody asks me for help. It's an ongoing cycle of people asking for help and working together as a team. So I've had to have those conversations with students who feel like they are going to disrupt their teacher's day by asking to stay after for extra help, or reaching out to a counselor because they're having some emotional issues, or reaching out to the dean of students because they feel like they're being picked on or bullied, or if a class is super disruptive. Sometimes, so I encourage, if you feel like your child sort of is reluctant to report things to adults here, or if they don't have someone to talk to, reach out to us, and we can try and get something going for them.
Yes, I hope they all feel the ability or at least one person who they can reach out to. I also hope that they all feel that they can make a mistake, and that they can get a bad grade, and that's part of the learning process and part of growing, and that we will be right there to support them and help them all the way.
Yep. So you sort of touched on it. The last question asked overall, are you happy being an AMSA student, which goes into what we were just talking about. And then we finished off with some open-ended questions. Some of these are kind of, I think the students will have a little bit of fun with them. Your suggestions on how AMSA could improve your academic experience. What types of courses would you like to see at AMSA?
This
will be a fun one.
I have a lot of favorite questions. I really love this question. Man, we added the think outside the box question too. I mean, this is slightly off topic, but I read an article today about the future of education and what education might look 30 years from now. And the author was saying that we have this industrial model of education that was created in the 1800s, where students in brick buildings go from one room to another room, 45-minute classes, and they have a teacher come, instill knowledge, teacher come, instill knowledge, teacher come, instill knowledge. And we've had this model for 150 years, and the writer of the article was saying that we want to start really rethinking educational system to better comport with the ever-changing world, and a world that has knowledge that completely surrounds kids. There's no lack of knowledge or lack of ability to have knowledge. 1,000 years ago, a person living in a village had no access to knowledge, or teeny tiny access to knowledge. Now we have our cell phones, and we just open up our cell phones, and we have almost the world. You can find out what is happening in Tokyo today, what is happening in Moscow today. And what does that say about how we should think about education? And how we think about a school and the environment of a school. So it would be really great to just kids really think outside the box. What would you love to see in a course or a class or in a school? So I really can't wait to see what the kids say about that.
Yeah, then to go along with that, in a way, we ask, what are the characteristics of an interesting class? And then number 4, we're looking at what's the best way to measure academic success? I think the outside world, I think a lot of people look at it and say MCAS scores tell you how academically successful the school is. But hopefully this survey, it gets the students thinking that academic success, based on the questions we're asking about their emotional and social well-being, they start to think more of academic success broader, bigger view, broader, more broad view.
So a quick question on the type of the courses you would like to see.
Yep.
I'm not sure how big a problem it is, but scheduling in high school, like if you're trying to schedule a couple of AP courses that you like, things like that, is still very challenging because there are rules like AP Stats is only offered for seniors. A lot of the schools say junior is able to take that. So things like that. I was wondering, like if you go for the program, then it's okay. But if you want to explore and like take other AP Stats in junior year, AP Stats is probably easier than AP Calc. some kids are taking AP Calc, right? So we were told like unless you're in senior, you can't take AP Stats, right? So, you know, in addition to the type of the courses, for the advanced STEM school, do we have, you know, flexibility to take some of these courses as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. We do have some requirements for our AP courses, and the years that kids can take the AP courses. Each of our department chairs is very thoughtful about when kids can take it and how it sequences with the course that they've previously taken. And we definitely want kids we welcome and challenge them to take AP courses, but we also are very cognizant that we've have kids who take a lot of AP courses or have kids who take an AP course and they're really not quite in the right spot to be able to take that, so we try to balance those two out. But you know, it's always worth a conversation with department chairs about you know, the rationale behind each decision. But definitely encourage you to reach out to
The math folks.
math folks, Ms. Schmidt.
And the last question, which I think will be another, we'll see some pretty good responses here. If you could create your own school, what would the mission statement be for that school?
What would the bumper sticker be?
Yeah. And then we do give an open comment section here at the end, just to it says, please take a moment to add any additional comments or clarifications, so the students can sort of free write there if they want to add anything or make any general comments about their academic experience here at the school.
So yeah,
That's it.
the last 2 pages that or the last page there, you'll see, we also are sending out some questions to alumni too, to kind of get, now that they've graduated and moved on, they are looking back upon their experience at AMSA, what do they think about it? So as Mike was saying, we're really hopeful that this will be a good process. So when you get home tonight, talk to your kids, encourage them to take it very seriously and really give us honest feedback. Take their time and let us know what they're thinking, because this could be really, really helpful. We've never really done this before, to let our kids speak to us in a mass voice and tell us what they're thinking about really important questions.
So can I ask a question? So I don't even know what it is anymore, maybe 3 years ago, the school took a huge hit in the computer science department with like the massive teachers that left that one summer. And my understanding is like there were classes that were being offered at that time, but have not been brought back into the curriculum because like we don't have teachers to teach them. Some classes. Have we, like, do you feel like, have we like fully recovered from all the teachers we've lost? Are we back where we want to be with the computer science department, or are we still, it's a work in process?
I would say yes and no. So I think we haven't, as a school and as a culture, we're still kind of recovering from all the bumps that we went over, and that'll take time. It takes time to develop trust in a staff and a community. I think we've definitely made progress, and certainly the survey results that we've gotten back show a little bit of that, but there's still more room to grow. In terms of computer science, I'm not the best person to answer this question. I know that Dr. Dre, Ms. Bandaru, who's just a phenomenal computer science teacher, have done amazing work in creating courses like cybersecurity, which I know is quite popular with the kids. She also co-teaches a class, discrete math, and she has done a tremendous amount of work. And I know Dr. Dre is also reconfiguring the middle school computer science curriculum to bring it up to speed in a constantly evolving and changing world of technology. So we've definitely made progress, certainly more to make. I certainly encourage you to reach out to Dr. Dre, Ms. Bandaru, who can certainly better answer those questions than I can.
I know there's some great classes, and again, I think it's been a similar, like you have this one class offered, but if you're, taking Latin 3 or Latin 4, it's only offered at the time that particular, and you have to take your fourth language, that just the timing
Yeah,
of things,
the-
like,
the-
well,
the
maybe when I'm a
scheduling-
senior, it's a
Yeah,
challenge,
the
I'm
sched-
sure.
Yeah, the scheduling is a very difficult challenge. Unfortunately, at our school, that's definitely one of the limitations.
Yep.
We don't have a lot of space, and we, because of that, the schedule is almost like a Jenga puzzle. And if in a schedule you move one block, it affects all the other blocks. So it definitely is a challenge. So we have like 15 minutes left, and I want to encourage everyone to vote if you haven't already voted. So we'll end in 15 minutes. We went over the survey. We probably really won't have time to kind of get to we were going to work in groups, but that's okay. But if you have other questions or thoughts that we could help answer?
No, back on the survey, there was you said that there's, and I say this because my daughter hasn't talked about it, but are there student tutors that she should be working with or has access to? I mean, that's a great idea. She has never told me that there's.
NHS, yeah.
I'm not sure if they started yet, though. Our National Honor Society has traditionally held a tutoring service after school where students can reach out to the NHS advisors. That would be Mr. Peter Prue, who's a history teacher here, and Miss Holly Johnson, who's an English teacher. They are the advisors for NHS. I am not sure if that has kicked in yet, but each year they do offer that. So I would have your daughter could definitely reach out to them through email, through the student Gmail account that they all have. They could reach out to Ms. Johnson, Mr. Prue, and ask about that. But yes, we have traditionally offered that student tutoring service.
And that question will be, if a number of students really indicate that having the support of fellow students tutoring, that would definitely be something that
We could look into starting
invest in
a program, a bigger program possibly.
Right, I mean, question 6 was tutoring provided by fellow students. You
Yes.
actually asked that. So if it's not organized, it's sort of what you're saying, it's sort of going out and asking friends, forming study groups, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and
Self-motivation.
if it is something that students are learning a lot from, I think that's a message to us that we need a very much more systematic process of having our students help fellow students.
Right, and then for the NHS, that's donating time, it's part of it.
Yes,
Maybe
right.
just check off an hour.
Right. Other questions?
You mentioned, so the results, they're going to be shared with
Yeah, so-
parents at another meeting in the future, that kind of.
Yep, so
Yeah.
we are going to get all the data back, and then we have a committee of teachers and administrators that we'll be looking at in late November.
Late November, early December, we're going to dump the data out on the table and look at the raw survey data, all of the answers, and we're going to think about next steps. First off, how do we sort of summarize this and distribute it to the community? So we'll go to the students, we'll go to the parents, and then the next step is how do we respond? And that's what we're going to focus on in these meetings probably for the next couple of months.
I assume you're trying to get 100% of participation, but are you going to keep the data, how many students actually from those surveys you gave out, how many really filled it out? To see at least that, how many
Yes.
interested people are,
Yes,
maybe there's a lack of interest.
Yes, we definitely
That's
would
it.
love 100%.
That's
Probably might
information
not get
too,
100.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, like I said, we've guaranteed them time to complete these surveys during their computer science classes. So the computer science teacher will be there supervising class and will probably nudge students along if they're just staring at a blank screen on their computer. I'm sure they'll get them to access the survey. Will it be 100%? Probably not. I mean, students may be absent from school, may never get to it. But I think it'll be very close because we've allotted time for it to take place.
I think we'll get a good cross-section, if it's not 100%, if we get 85% in each grade, that's a good solid
Yeah.
cross-section of kids.
I'm sorry, just a quick question. The MCAS results came out?
Yes.
Any high-level, like, call-outs? What you see?
Good question. I would encourage you to read, every month we provide, administrators provide a report to the Board of Trustees.
Okay,
I'm happy to provide you a copy if you email me.
if it's available online or something.
And it contains a report of our MCAS scores. It also gives kind of an update about the new accountability system that the Department of Education is putting out. Long story short, we've analyzed the MCAS scores, both the high school MCAS scores, both in terms of numbers and growth, and our scores were exceptional, thanks to our teachers, our department chairs, our students. Our math scores, either number 1 or right up there. Our English scores number 3, science scores number 5. I can't quite remember the number. It's 1, 3, and 5 in the entire state. And if you look at the report that we wrote for the board in October, and what we did in that is we looked at our growth, we looked at the total scores. We also compared our scores to the top 10 schools in the state as measured by U.S. News and World Report, and we're right there with them or better than them. Number 1 school in the state is Boston Latin. Our scores are identical. So.
Is that with the under the Board of Trustees staff?
Yes, if you look at the Board of Trustees and then you look at board meetings, but it's certainly easy just to email me and I can just send it to you.
No, that's great.
And if you have problems sleeping, you can, every month, where's the latest board report? Ah, there it is. Okay, now I can go to sleep.
Thank you. That's for sure my nighttime reading.
Yeah, your nighttime reading. Yeah.
No, the reason I ask is that, I'm asking too many questions on behalf of my daughter, but my son is in middle school and he really enjoys school. But I'm just worried about how the colleges are perceiving AMSA, right? I think I get the feeling that compared to like a Marlboro High or Ashland High or Holliston High, AMSA students are not going to get the same grades. And a lot of universities are moving away from weighted GPAs so that if you're taking an honors class and you get a B, they are no longer adjusting that during the admission criteria. So my concern there is that, AMSA is maintaining strict academic standards, so a student getting a B in AMSA is probably, I wouldn't generalize that, but
From our counselors when they go
yeah,
back to school.
would probably be superior to getting an A from other schools, but they're not adjusting the weighted GPA. So how are you seeing the students onboarding into the colleges that are more sensitive of GPAs? Because I can see my daughter getting really good SATs and everything else, but grades are not going to be commensurate with going to like a Westboro High or Ashland High.
Yeah, I would definitely defer my answer to Ms. Driver, who's the head of our counseling department. This is not certainly my area of expertise. I mean, I would certainly say that our reputation has been growing quite a bit, and our rankings are always very high, and our college acceptance rates are exceptional. We have students getting into terrific schools, all types of schools across the state and across the country, and our kids are setting very impressive achievements in getting into schools. And I would hope and suspect that colleges and universities, when they're looking at schools, they're definitely considering what schools are challenging and what schools have high academic expectations, and they're certainly taking that into consideration.
Yeah, I do think our counseling department does a nice job during the application time expressing that throughout the application process to the colleges through recommendation letters and things like that. We've had many great colleges come and visit here this year. Duke was here. I think Georgia Tech usually comes through here. We've had state schools have come through here. All types of schools have come. Providence College was here recently. So I think we're on the map, for sure. I think we've developed a reputation, like you
You know,
said.
Has
definitely I
Georgia
can,
Tech already been through?
I don't know if they've been through this year. I know they were
Okay,
here
I'm like,
last year.
did I miss that one?
Yeah.
I'm like, I knew the other ones.
Last year, I know they were here.
you know, I can definitely understand in-state our reputation, but like if you're applying to like a California, you know, San Diego, like UCLA or something, I don't think they will know whether AMSA is, you know, different than Westboro High.
That's where.
I think the name almost says it though. Like I would hope that when they see Advanced Math and Science Academy, that to me, I would hope would get a flag up to them that isn't just your town high school. I don't know. Like Kate Driver has been excellent. Like my son's a junior and oh my goodness, like what's involved in, even as a junior, getting ready through the whole college thing is just mind-boggling. But she's been really good about showing them how to, like, have you, what grade is she?
Junior.
Okay, so she's in the Navient, is that it, Navient?
Yeah.
App, and I didn't realize the schools were getting away from the weighted thing, because they were just explaining at the forum she had a couple weeks ago what that was, the whole weighted component. So I didn't realize the schools were actually getting away from that piece. But
Yeah,
she was showing how
what
that's done in
concerns
the
me,
app.
because the trend is they're moving away from weighted GPA. So like taking an AP Chem or AP Bio in AMSA, and it's impossible to get an A, as far as I can tell, in AP Chem. Because it's like you have to study yourself and you have to take tests yourself. And so getting a B in AP Chem versus, you know, getting an A in CP Chem. I mean, we don't get any guidance, I think, in the 9th and 10th grades on what you should be going through. That's what concerns me. Like we went down the AP path. and-
I would definitely encourage you to reach out to Kate Driver.
It's almost like we needed our daughter to go through
Yeah.
AMSA so we can now prepare our son.
Yeah, I'm trying to channel Miss Driver, and I know, and I'm sure she's had
Yeah.
and wants to have more conversations about the choices that kids make. We, you know, on the one hand, we welcome AP access. That's one of our goals, is to have access. But we do want to be very honest with kids, and I know Ms. Driver and all the counselors are about the choices that kids make, that, you know, sometimes taking an AP class is great to challenge yourself, but it is much harder, and the expectations are much harder. It's a college level course, and you might be an A student in other classes, but you're going to get a B in AP Chem or a C+. Would you rather have that, or would you rather take an honors class or a CP class and get an A? You know, those are tough conversations. They're good conversations to have, and it's you know, it's a question of balance.
I would just say that, having gone through this ad nauseum, 2016 with my child, who's a junior at Drexel, if your child has an idea, it may not at this stage, of what they might be studying in college, that's, you know, that will give you some idea of what they probably should be taking, because I will say that the admissions people are, you know, that in my experience, we're looking at, you know, my child who was thinking about doing engineering, about challenging themselves, and we were telling him, which he didn't listen to, but we were, it's my child, we were telling him, they're going to see that you took that AP and challenged yourself and didn't sit back and take the easy class. So if you get a B, we're going to be fine with it. He kept saying, you're going to be so upset. And I'm like, no, we're not. No, we're not. We will be very proud of you that you challenged yourself. And when they're looking at your record, that's going to pop up and that as a challenge. So that's just something to think about.
When we look
What
at the
they're
balance
interested in.
factor, like I know I've said to myself, I mean, there's a lot of AP classes as they get in the upper grades that they can take. And I've said to him, like, don't take a class just because it's an AP class. If it's something that you're passionate about and it's something that you think is going to help you to excel in the career that you want, then that's a reason to take an AP class. But to take an AP class just to put that notch in your belt, we talk about balance, to have 4 AP classes as an upperclassman, I'm like, so fortunately, you know, he's only got 2, which I think that's a good, you know, I don't want him to have 4 AP classes, whether it's weighted average or not. It's like balance is important, and, you know, questioning why, you know, what's the right reason to take an AP class in a particular subject.
Yeah. Well, it's just about 7. So if you haven't voted, go vote.
Voted last week.
Thank you all for coming, and always feel free to reach out